there for their, like I said, the knowledge
No.
around that areas.
They don't need an instructor there. They just need to be endorsed to do a cross-country flight there.
What about for the Chinese students? They're taken there by car instead of flying there.
That's fine, because they didn't fly the airplane there, so
Mhm.
it's not.
But for taking off and landing in Redmond, do they need an endorsement?
No, because they did that training there with the CFI.
I think if it's a check ride, you don't have to have the endorsement because technically that will be your first activity.
Yeah. They don't have to be endorsed for Redmond because their first flight at Redmond would be with the CFI,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then they do the check ride. But if their first flight at Redmond was going to be, let's say, a solo flight, not a check ride, then you would have to endorse them for Redmond.
Got it.
Make sense? I know. But if you were sending them from Hillsborough, like they were going to take a 152 from Hillsborough, fly it to Redmond, do a check ride at Redmond, and then fly the airplane back, you would have to give them a cross-country solo endorsement from Hillsborough to Redmond, and from Redmond back to Hillsborough, because they are actually moving the airplane there for their check ride. And therefore, because they're not a private pilot, they have to be endorsed to do that flight. So if you had a student who was doing that, you would then have to give them, this endorsement again.
The A10?
Yeah. For that flight name.
Yep. And you'd have to do it both ways. Because like you said, you have to assume if they fail, they can't bring the airplane back to Hillsborough. So they either have to fly it back with an instructor, or you have to endorse them to bring that airplane back. If they pass the check ride, then the endorsement to bring the airplane back is irrelevant, because they passed the check ride. Now they're private pilot, therefore they can fly the airplane without the endorsement balance.
That was great.
It's not, I mean, it doesn't really
No, it
happen.
was stressful because it was like 7 hours flying and check ride.
Yeah, so what we hear, it doesn't happen too much, but it's a fairly, so I don't want to say fairly common, but it is a thing that
I
happens.
mean, the
in other
school
colleges.
doesn't like for safety.
No, we just send a CFI and a student.
Yeah, that's what it's going to happen with me, but we because the weight imbalance, like we were right on the line and with my bags.
Basically, where you fly that you were right.
152.
Oh, okay.
So with the bag and stuff, like you're not gonna fit. That's why I decided to go back
Legally,
south.
you can do it solo. It's just Hillsborough, we just send a CFI with you. Because
Liability thing, right?
there's a liability thing, and also because it's another airport that the student may not have gone to. Because usually when we do it, it's going to be down to like San Francisco, or it's going to be to Olympia or something like that. So they want a CFI there to at least give you training about that airport.
It was my first time.
Yeah. Whereas
have
if
you
you
noticed about Christopher, like the examiners out there?
No, I don't know all the examiners in Florida. It's like
I mean, like it's just like Goody Davis and Tom Davis. They both like her husband and she. They owning the airport. He's a fighter and they're doing all the check rides out there. You know?
For Hillsborough, if you do your check ride at Redmond, you'll just drive you to Redmond. And then you can do a dual flight with the CFI there, and then you're good.
So if you do check ride, then you don't need extra endorsement for other airplanes.
Correct. As long as you get the training captain at the airport.
But if
And the airplane is at that airport, so. If you were flying the airplane
no,
to
I mean,
another airport,
for example, I've never been to St. Louis. Just imagine, I've never
Mhm.
doing a training there. But on my check ride, my checker asked me to go to St. Louis and do my landing.
no endorsement.
Okay, but if I'm doing a real student solo, I need
Correct.
endorsement.
So if you were going to take the airplane to Scappoose by yourself to do your check ride at Scappoose, you need the endorsement.
Yeah,
But-
but a check ride is considered that I'm solo.
Your check ride is assuming you are a private pilot.
Oh, okay.
Now, if
That
you
makes
fail
sense.
your check ride and you were at Scappoose, you need an endorsement to bring the airplane
Oh,
from
okay.
Scappoose. But as long as you're on the check ride, you're considered to be technically private pilot.
But still,
fail.
you don't even need a check endorsement to fly to Scappoose because technically you can land. You don't need endorsement land, and then when you're taking off again, you're taking off with a.
Yeah, you kind of still want to do that.
Okay.
You want them to give them the endorsement just in case. You don't want to just say, oh well, I'm going to assume you pass. And if they don't pass, you're kind of screwed because you'd have to go get them. So you'd want to give them the endorsement anyways.
Or just ask the checker to fly there.
You could do that too.
Back.
You could, like on a private pilot check ride, like let's say the winds at Hillsborough were too high and you don't feel comfortable taking off from Hillsborough, you can tell the examiner, hey, I'll do my private pilot check ride, I want you to take off from Hillsborough. And if he or she agrees with it, they can do the takeoff from Hillsborough, go to Scappoose, and then you can do the check ride at Scappoose, no endorsement needed.
And also on the check ride, student can fly a real cross country without endorsement.
Correct.
That's what happened for my commercial single. A lot of Troutdale. It was gusting to 34 or something, or 39. And the chief approved it. The examiner, the chief said, as long as the examiner does the landing and takeoff at Troutdale, it'll be fine. And he took off, and we went to Scappoose to do the landings. Came back and
so that's one way you can do it too. If the examiner wants to do the takeoff from Troutdale to Scappoose, then no endorsement needed. Because you're with the examiner, you're on your private pilot check ride, and he is doing the takeoff and landing, so it doesn't really matter. But
39 gusting, well, what are you thinking? Is the examiner like?
if the examiner agrees, the examiner doesn't have to agree. Some of them can just say no.
Why are you flying, man?
No, because it's during that season only Troutdale was gusting every day, and then all the airports around the things calm.
Yep. Sorry, Jimmy, you had a question?
Yes. The question is that those students, the CEA students, they, I know at least 5 of them were waiting for a check ride, but they finished all their paperwork, but they got their training here, but they are all sent out to Redmond. So apparently, when they get there, they will be getting another training from instructors there to get familiar with the local area. Does that instructor in Redmond need to endorse them? No. So that instructor has no responsibility for their results.
Correct. As long as they have all the other endorsements, then the instructor in Redmond doesn't have to re-endorse them.
Oh.
Now, if they were missing an endorsement, then the instructor in Redmond would have to endorse them.
Okay.
So, like for example, if their 90-day solo endorsement expired, then the instructor in Redmond would have to give them that 90-day solo endorsement, or another CFI would have to give them that. But as long as the endorsements are valid, they don't have to get another endorsement.
Got it.
Right? Now, if they were flying the airplane to Redmond, then you would have to endorse them for that flight. But as long as they weren't flying the airplane to there, they were just doing the check ride from Redmond to Redmond, for example, or Redmond to Hillsborough, or whatever, then no endorsement is needed.
All right, a question, like if someone already did most of the private training with someone, and he just he changing the instructor and he came to fly with me, and what is the minimum requirements for me to fly with him to give him an endorsement for the check ride?
The 3 hours is the
right?
absolute minimum,
Yeah,
is the one
3
that
hours.
you would have to give them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's going to be what you feel comfortable.
Yeah,
The
sure.
3 hours is like literally the base minimum that
The
they have
minimum.
to fly with you
Right.
to get that endorsement. But at the same time, you have to judge.
Wrong glass, sorry.
Actually, no, you might be good.
But that only applies to, I may have to check it, because it doesn't apply to those add-on ratings, right? Because it didn't apply to my single engine commercial
Correct,
add-on.
because single engine commercial, anybody can, as long as they give you the training and they give you the check ride endorsement, there's no like minimum hours for that. It's only for the actual pilot endorsement, I think, has the.
It only says that you have to have review within preceding
60 days.
2 calendar months or
Yep.
60 days, but it doesn't say specific hours.
Correct, it's only
For the what? For the add-on?
The single engine add-on.
Oh,
And I
but
think
not the
in
license,
the
so
CFI
not the
doesn't
commercial.
need to
But
fly.
what?
Single engine commercial add-on.
So,
No.
oh, you had the
You have to be
multi-engine commercial.
Because
You're doing a single.
if they
add-on?
had,
Of
But
course,
are you sure? Because I'm doing a multi add-on on Monday, my check ride, and my instructor is supposed to still give me the 3
hours before
Correct.
60-day.
Except for that
I have
30,
to find it,
the 3 hours in the
because
past.
my instructor was looking for that, and only says you need to have
Or
ground
whoever
and
flies
fly
with them has to give them that endorsement.
training. It
Or-
doesn't say how many hours. So as long as you have training records, yeah.
That should be fine.
So for my flight, because I sent out my check ride request last December, and it was more than 60 days. So I had a new instructor did the review just once.
Oh, so you didn't have to get the 3 hours?
No. So the second
You know,
instructor
flight
was,
training with an
yes, I
authorized
only
instructor
did
in
1 point
single
something
engine
hours with the
airplane
second
in
instructor.
preparation for the practical test.
And you think,
Because
okay,
they
you're ready,
perform
you send out
procedures.
Yeah,
the request.
yeah, that's why you say calendar month.
Because I remember in the pilot lounge, I saw an instructor ask another instructor, can you endorse my student for their check ride? And looks like that CFI never flew with the student. And-
Aeronautical knowledge?
Or in the case of a retest, there's no 3 hours. Like if he failed,
See,
No,
I
no,
think
no.
that's
Actually,
going
he asked
for-
Or retest?
yeah.
them to
Not a
endorse two
retest,
students,
like if
and
I
they are
give him
just the first time.
the endorsement,
as long as they meet
And
the
he failed.
requirements.
right?
Um,
And he came back to
No,
fly
because you
with
would
me
still run into,
to whatever
Review?
check on what he failed
you would
on.
still run into the FAA.
It's not
coming
required
back
to
and
fly with
saying-
them
True.
3 hours.
As long as if he think, I mean, instructor thinks that you're ready.
Yeah,
They
I
can
can
get it.
go with him a flight an hour
Mhm.
and endorse him another job for another.
Yeah, true.
So,
Yes.
is it like the same?
I would say that's the kind of thing
same
where it's like
endorsement?
legally, according to the regulations, yes, because the regulation just simply says that
Yeah, it doesn't mess with
Authorized.
all really the regulation says is I certify that X has received the required training in accordance with blah blah. I have determined he or she is prepared for the practical test. So I guess legally, as long as somebody else has done the training and logged the training, everything is okay. You could come back and say, yes, I can give you this endorsement. But the problem I see the FAA coming back and saying is this part over here. Is this word here. How do you determine if somebody is ready for a check ride
Fly with him.
Maybe
without flying with
I
them?
trusted their instructor.
Why don't that instructor?
Yeah, well, the FAA would come back and say, why doesn't the other
University-
instructor?
Yeah, his accident, he couldn't ride.
What?
No.
I don't know.
I would be careful.
He lost his hands and he can't.
Or that part of training
Right,
doesn't
right.
need a fly. Like, I know some students, they fail on operating the GPS, so they just do those training
Yeah,
on the
that's
ground.
fine. Because you can give them the training for the GPS and then you can determine that they are ready for the recheck.
Oh, yeah.
But my question her question is the initial check ride. So I would still say no. Because the FAA is gonna come back and say, okay, you've never flown with the student, you don't know who they are. But yet at the same time, you determine they are ready for check ride when you have never flown it. So you kind of,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're putting yourself in a critical situation.
yeah.
You don't want to.
And also, they do need that solo endorsement. And you cannot give them that 90-day solo endorsement unless you actually do that training with them.
Yeah, but assume they already have it.
If they already had that, if it's valid, legally, you're really kind of like on the line over there to where you
But-
could argue with the FAA, say, nope, I think he's safe, and the FAA can come back and say, what, you've never flown with stuff.
So what about if he failed, right? I did all the endorsement for the check ride, and he failed, and he just gonna fly back with me, all right, to give him another endorsement.
That's fine.
All right, so I give him just the 33, 833.
No, if they fail, you would give them, where is the one, let me see
Recheck.
yeah, there's one for
Retesting.
retesting.
Testing.
6149, where does that come under here? There you go, this would be A73. Where retesting after failure of knowledge or practical test is a separate endorsement. So as long as you give them that retraining, you can endorse that. So like, let's say I endorse a student for private pilot check ride, but he or she failed, and then you did their retraining, you can give them the endorsement for the retrain. As long as the other endorsements are valid, so like their 90-day endorsement and all of that other stuff is valid, then you can give them an endorsement for that. And that retrack doesn't have to be lifetime.
Or the requirement 3 hours.
Correct, as long as the previous 3 or 60-day endorsement is valid, then you don't have to give them another one. And this one, like I said, doesn't even have to be lifetime.
Oh, A7.
So he can
Sorry.
just sit.
Okay, so apparently the A74 is for the add-ons.
AC 61.65, A74 you said?
Yeah, because I'm trying to think. What was?
Additional aircraft category of class rating other than BTP. What about it?
Like the because I was thinking about I need to find out where the wording says that I don't need to have 3 hours of training to get the
add-on. Like there's
for
no
the single engine commercial add-on, the review 3 hour within